we're here to bring you a full breakdown of the Monarch structure deck coming out next week in the TCG. If you watched the previous video of our meta breakdown, you can see that I think all of us had it in our top 5s, and the highest it ranked was at 2. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out in the description in the link below. Let me get that right. The link in the description below. So we're going to give you a quick rundown of the Monarch structure deck. Sean has very nicely made a brief little document about the reprints, the effects, and then we'll discuss about their weaknesses, their strengths, why we think they're going to be breaking into the top 5 meta, and just from there, just how, like I said before, the fact that they all ranked in our top 5s, shows, without them even being out, shows how strong they can be. So we'll start off with, we'll probably breeze through the new cards that are coming out, and then obviously there's quite a nice lot of reprints. So the new Monachs, what have we got?
First of all, we have Aether.
So we've got Aether the Heaven Monarch, yep, so this one is tribute summon this card by tributing 1 tribute summoned monster. If this card is tribute summoned, you can send 2 Monarch spell trap cards with different names from your hand and or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 monster with 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase. During your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your hand, you can banish 1 Monarch spell or trap card from your graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon this card. This is a quick effect. I don't know much more you want me to say about that. That seems pretty bad. No, because Sean's left that off the list.
It's light, I think.
Is it the light one?
I think it's the light one.
It's light, I don't remember.
I think it's the light one.
So is it the light one?
Yeah.
It's the light. Yeah. It's got 2800 attack. I think it's got 1000 defense, but I don't recall what its type is.
Interesting.
So I think we might not go over each individual effect, and we'll go through all the new cards that they're getting, and then we can discuss it more and then go into effects when needed. So is it Idea, the Heaven Squire?
Yep.
Erebus, is that right?
Erebus, yeah.
Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. Eodos, the Underworld Squire.
Yep.
Pantheism, the Monarchs, is that right?
Yeah, that will be changed in the TCG.
That's been changed in the TCG. So the domination of the legendary Monarch. Dominion. I do apologise, I can't read. Lucius, the Shadow Vessel.
Mithra, yeah.
Mithra, the Thunder Vessel. Landro, the Rock Vessel.
Essentially, all the vassals that we haven't got yet are being printed in this
Yeah,
deck.
they're smaller versions of the original Monarchs, basically.
Mini Monarchs.
Each with their own unique ability.
All of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So you've got Isha, the Frost Vessel. I'm just going to go through what they
Well,
are.
actually, we already had Isha.
Okay, so we've got
Yeah.
Berline's the
we've had
Firestorm
the-
Vessel. We've got the Storm Vessel, and then we've got the Prime Monarch, which is a continuous trap. So onto the reprints. So we've got the Shadow Monarch, the Thunder Monarch, the Rock Monarch, the Frost Monarch, the Firestorm Monarch, the Storm Monarch. Illusory, is that right?
Illusory Snatcher. Yeah.
Illusory Snatcher, Tragedier. I'm glad these guys are in. Dandelion, who doesn't want another Dandelion?
Yeah.
Mathematician, Level Eater, Battle Fader, Rainbow Karibo, March of the Monarchs, Return of the Monarchs, Monarch Stormforth, Strike of the Monarchs, Tennessee of the Monarchs? Tenacity. I told you, don't
Tennessee of the Monarchs.
Tennessee, Soul Exchange, Enemy Controller, Dice Foon, Soul Charge, First Monarch, Escalation of the Monarch, the Monarchs Awaken, the Monarchs Erupt, By Order of the Emperor, and Pinpoint Bar.
I'm still waiting for that MST reprint.
Yeah. Waited far too long for that.
Such a hard.
So even in the reprints, you're getting a very good deal.
Yeah, that's interesting. The first structure deck in a while that hasn't had MST.
That is a good deal.
They've got bored of it. They just can't be bothered to print anymore.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So, open this out to everyone. What is it that this structure deck is bringing to to send because Monachs have been around for a while, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is it that this deck is bringing to the TCG that is going to make them top 5 deck?
Depending on which board you want to play, it's completely removing probably the best engine that they've had for a while, which is Frogs. I think we can all agree Frog Monachs is probably one of the most consistent ones until this deck's come out. Whether you want to run the Vassals, or you want to run the engine that's been played in the OCG, it's quite a lot. It just gives a lot more options to Monachs in terms of tribute fodder.
Okay. Just opening up tribute fodder. Anyone else?
Something that I would just like to point out is that a lot of competitive players who like high tier players playing Pepe and stuff, they seem to mention that the field spell, which lets your opponent, as long as you control a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot access their extra deck. They seem to rely heavily too much on that. In my opinion, they seem to think that the Monachs, the new Monarch structure deck, is only good for that and that alone, which I disagree with.
So the Monarch deck shuts down the extra deck?
Yes, that's a lot of people seem to be just building it for that alone, which is
yeah, as building upon the field spell, that alone has enough power to just literally cripple a lot of the pendulum type decks. Also, because they tribute some monsters, you also have option to go into the Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend, which will lock out your opponent from all monster effects, can't special summon, and a good shout out to our old friend Ed, because, well, if you haven't listened to this, Team Neosphere, that is also support for Earthbound. In a sense, with the field spell, got a 28 beater that can't be attacked, and you can present one of them, you can just burn without even doing anything, and you can't enter your battle phase. That alone is just incredible.
Yeah.
Michael?
I think everything's pretty much already been said, but it is just a more viable way of getting out those tribute summon monsters, recovering from sort of loss of card advantage that you would get from a tribute summon. Also, as you mentioned, quicker ways to access Majesty's Fiend, Vanity's Fiend, and potentially such now. And last thing I'd like to add is just a great way for Monarch decks in general to start grinding, because that was one thing the deck struggled with in all the formats. And now with the addition of some of the new cards we're going to talk about, it actually has a way of recycling some of those cards and getting to its combo pieces faster and getting to those plays, which is going to allow it to combat these new pendulum-based decks.
Essentially, remove years of Yu-Gi-Oh! With just one card. Was probably one of the best things of Monarch, which obviously I'm talking about you as well.
See, what I like about
one of
Monarch,
the reasons people hate Monarchs now.
I think the reason I quite like the idea of it is it takes Yu-Gi-Oh! Back a few years. So it takes it before the extra deck was such a big player in the game, and it takes it back to obviously now where pendulum summoning and pendulum is such a big game. It goes back to the original tribute in to get out a big beat monster with just your deck and nothing else.
One thing that you can actually throw in with Monarchs is pendulum summon.
Let's not get to that.
But I think
the day they bring out pendulum.
I think as you said, it is wonderful to see one of these old great decks get some new support and to see them great again. And,
where's Magician support? Get with it.
Spellcaster support.
And actually doing well in the meta, it's good to see. One of the first competitive decks I picked up. So
you look at reports and decks, you're bound to see at least 3 to 4 5 Monarchs there.
Okay.
I remember I picked them up before Kai's came out. So.
Let's specifically pick out one or two of the new cards. I mean, we've already touched on the field spell and how much that's going to affect it. Are there any other cards that you guys would say this card, because we're getting on the structure, is a game changer? So apart from this field spell, this card is also going to take more time to that next level.
I think Erebus, the Underworld Monarch, is one of the ones which is going to heavily put them in a fighting position. My reason for that is its effect to send 2 Monarchs and Traps to the grave and then shuffle a card from the opponent's hand, field or graveyard is very powerful. The fact that this effect does not target, it's turned out to things like the Cosmo ships or pretty much anything else which you would struggle to get around. So not out to pendulum scales, floodgates.
Okay, so just quickly touching on the deck, would you guys say that just by buying the structure decks, because of what we have seen for the past few years is the top meta decks, the reason that some people like just doing this for running for fun are not getting to play these decks so like Cosmos and stuff like that is because there's that one card out there that is rocketing price and it's £100 or £80 for this one card. Do you feel that buying free structure decks, for example, gives any duelist a top meta deck? Or do you feel that there's still a lot that needs to be added to make it?
That is, yeah, I actually do agree. That's a good point. If you actually look at the top deck, which is Pepe, for example, it is majority of it built from free structure decks. One thing that people also look at is Monachs magicians and Pepe magicians, pendulum magicians. It's a deck built from free structure decks. Monachs can do that and do it very well. I would recall any deck card in that deck in OCG or competitive play that is not in the deck.
I would have to say that purchasing 3 of the Monarch structure decks certainly is a good starting off point. It is viable to use in a tournament, and it does give you a lot of the key cards. However, if you want to take on the top tier decks, I don't think it's enough.
I mean, apart from the normal staples that are, of course, so like strike and stuff like that are going to cost, it's just, so for example, Pepe, to be at the top you need to have a sorcerer, which is a £50 card being taken. Cosmo, again, to be at the top you need a 40 to £60 card in Dark Destroyer. So all I'm saying is, from the Monarch structure there, do you feel that the main monster or the main card they need to be running is already in that deck?
I don't. I think the main cards they need to be running, in addition to what they have already, is Majesty's Feet and Vanity's Feet.
I have to further agree with that.
Yeah.
Well,
But again, they're not
pricey.
Absolutely not, especially with Majesty's Feet and reprint.
Majesty's reprinted, Vanities is around.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've done a couple of deck profiles on budget builds. So DDs is a great example of a budget build, Kaiju Gradles, and UAs. So I'm just thinking of the young duelist that wants to turn up, but doesn't want to spend a load of money, that wants to be able to compete with other players and have a bit of fun.
What I really like about this is that there's no need for an extra deck for this Monarch deck. So automatically you've eliminated a huge amount of the costs that would be needed to complete this deck. So none of those extra deck staples. So automatically you're starting off in a good position. As we've mentioned before, the Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend are very, very easy to get hold of, very cheap. And
you could probably look at the deck and think, I have £20 in my wallet, can I make this deck? You probably can. So just thinking on the top of my head, you can literally make this deck. £3, cards like pound as well. Throw those in. Because it's a very tribute, supportive archetype. It just says, I want you to tribute summon, I want you to only tribute summon throughout the whole day.
here's the tools to do it.
Here's the tools to do it. We'll use your opponent's monster, go ahead.
Okay, so we've touched on some of its strengths, we've touched on its simple tributing for powerhouses, and then the effects that the powerhouses bring out, along with the field spell, just allow them to do crazy things. So what about weaknesses for Monarchs? Obviously I know one is Master Restrict, so cards can't be tributed, that will shut the deck down. Any other main weaknesses?
I'm
for field spell relying.
Yeah, people relying on the field spell. Most competitive Monarch players will probably get very predictable and I'd say what's the word? Fickle players who think, okay, I've lost my field spell now, that's it, I've lost.
Close forest? Oh, great.
Yeah, people who, I'd say, very shallow opinions of the deck, I think, which is bad, because I'd like to think of it as more.
What's the Monarch trap card where
This team.
is it Rise of the Monarchs? Not Rise of the Monarchs. The trap card when it's sent to the grave, or it's like core, you can turn it into a monster.
Yeah, you can recycle it. It rises up as a monster, 1,000 attack, 2,400 defense.
Yeah.
That's the prime one.
Prime one. Is that in the reprint?
No, that's new.
That's
for the TCG.
I'd have to say one of the weaknesses of the deck is the lack of defensive traps. With the exception of the Prime Monarch, the deck's going to struggle to defend itself during the opponent's turn. I have seen people try and get around this by running things like Escalation of the Monarchs. And of course, you combine it with Storm Fourth, then you're in a good position to sort of tribute some on the opponent's turn. But those are combo pieces, you're not always going to have access to that. So I have tried to sort of get around this by running a few defensive traps, but it doesn't work because it breaks your hands. Although the deck does have search power and draw power, both combined, it's still not enough to get around those.
I think that's the reason why the structure deck has cards like Battle Vader,
Yeah.
and giving a hint is like, as you say, we don't want a lot of traps. Here's some hand traps so that if your field does get wiped, you can defend yourself, and as well as that, have tribute fodder for if you top deck a Monarch or that kind of stuff, you can then continue with your plays.
Battle Vader does seem like the way to do it.
Royal Decree and Gauze, would you say that they're...
Absolutely not with Gauze.
Not with Gauze,
Considering you're running so many
But,
continuing spells and field spells.
They thought of that as well, Trigonia. That's the gauze that allows you to have back.
I would say if anyone is considering playing any like back row, the Monarch deck, I would say two probably good options would be either level limit area B or lose one turn, because obviously the Monarch decks. Sorry? Yeah, level limit area. Actually, no, then that would have yourself.
No.
Sorry, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Lose one turn, lose.
Oh yeah.
My bad. Yeah, because obviously their reliance more on normal summoning than special summoning.
I'd have to say another weakness of the deck, if we're looking really outside the box here, one of the other weaknesses of the deck is it's reliant on its spells. And considering we're in a pendulum-based format, a lot of the side decks of players are featuring cards such as Fairy Wind, Anti-Twin Twister, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Spell Shattering Arrow, and these are allowed to a lot of the cards Monarchs would play to safeguard them on the opponent's turn. Things like Dominion of the Monarch, Return of the Monarch, not so much Return of the Monarchs, but March of the Monarchs. These are things which you're hoping to lock out the opponent with, and unfortunately everyone's going to have access to easy outs to these cards because they'd already been playing them. So unfortunately they're starting from behind in that respect.
Anything more?
I've got nothing to add. No, everyone said everything, yeah.
I think one thing else is you can look at them as a whole deck, but you can also just look at them as like a deck that you can mix a lot of stuff with. The great thing about this deck is that it's not so much of I buy 3 of this deck, I can just play from that. But you can just buy this deck, get all the new cards, go into your old builds, find new plays, new ways of making the deck work, and counteract other stuff while still fulfilling the requirements of the deck's requirements. Monarch mostly just I need tribute fodder to get myself out there, get my effect off, and put the duel into my favour. So as we mentioned before, things like artifacts, they're now a cheap engine, it gets tribute fodder, things like Scythe, you can play it during the opponent's turn, they can't extract, so you're not relying on the field spell, but you're utilising what the field spell does, which just blocks out the extract which you don't use very much. Your turn, you can attribute that to Scythe or Monachs and go from there. You still have more sanctums in play, you can just keep doing the process over and over and over again.
So artifact is an alternative to the back.
Yeah. Well, still being backrow in itself.
Yeah, but
Because the sanctum of being part, you then pop another thing,
it's quite versatile as an engine.
Yeah.
So it'll help you against automatics, particularly with Scythe.
Yeah.
Artifacts.
Yeah, Martin.
Well, I think that's kind of it for our discussion on the Monarch structure deck, which comes out on the 28th, I believe, which is next Wednesday, for the TCG.
I like your GXL, you like this deck.
I'm definitely going to be picking up a couple of Monarch decks, so I know quite a few of this are as well, just for a bit of fun. And they're relatively cheap. I mean, the most you're going to be paying for a structure deck is at least £10. I mean, you're probably
You're
finding
getting
around-
soul charge.
Yeah, I don't think a common soul charge is worth £10, so we'll go with it.
No,
I think value-wise, you're definitely getting what you need in that deck. If you're just starting Yu-Gi-Oh and you want to kind of enter in at a relatively high level, that's kind of the next structure deck to kind of get and build on from. And it does seem, like Joe pointed out earlier, that recent releases of structure decks are becoming more. You can put these together and they're relatively competitive.
We're still doing it. The next one does it the same.
Yeah. The ones that
DDDs. If you get 3 DDD decks in the future, you can then make DDDs.
if you haven't told already, Joe is a massive DDD fan. We like the D. Not that way, you sick bastards. So yeah, thanks for checking this out. If you haven't seen our meta breakdown, check that out. The link in the description below. Also, let us know what you think about the upcoming Monachs down below. If you're looking forward to them, if you feel you can run them with something else, just other different builds you can go with the Monachs. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share the channel. We're enjoying doing what we're doing and we're loving all the support we're getting from you guys as well. So please keep that coming our way. Yeah, and we'll finish on with Donald's.
And happy dueling!